There is a saying that echoes through time: you keep carrying the pain and calling it life. But is that truly life? Or is it merely a cycle of suffering that we've accepted as normal? We wake up every day with the weight of our past decisions. Regrets, trauma, failures, rejections, and yet, instead of healing, we carry them like bricks in a backpack, heavy, invisible, but real, and we tell ourselves, this is just how life is. No, it's not. Life isn't meant to be endured. It's meant to be lived. Pain is inevitable, yes, but suffering, that's a choice, and too many of us confuse the two. We clutch onto old wounds like trophies. We replay past failures like a broken record. We identify with the pain until it becomes who we are, but listen, what you carry is not your identity. What happened to you is not your destiny, and what hurt you doesn't get to define you. You can heal. You can release. You can rebuild. But to do that, you must stop calling pain your home. You must stop mistaking survival for living. Let go. Breathe. Free your hands from the past so they can hold your future. Because your life is waiting. In today's fast, moving world, many people unknowingly confuse emotional pain with the essence of life itself. This confusion doesn't arise suddenly. It builds slowly over years of unhealed wounds, unspoken emotions, and unresolved experiences. Somewhere along the way, when the hurt stayed longer than expected, we started mistaking it for normalcy. When the disappointments piled up one after another, we stopped questioning them. We just accepted them. And the moment we did that, we began calling pain life. Think about it. How many people do you know who walk through their days with a heavy heart, but smile anyway because that's just how life is? How many have settled into unhealthy relationships, unfulfilling jobs, or toxic environment, telling themselves it's all part of adulthood? This is not resilience. This is resignation. And it's dangerous because it buries the truth beneath layers of tolerance. The truth is, pain is not meant to be a permanent residence. It's supposed to be a visitor, a teacher, a signal that something needs attention, healing, or change. But what we often do is build a home around the pain. We decorate it with distractions, excuses, and denial. Then, we invite others in expecting them to accept our suffering as part of who we are. This confusion between living and merely surviving is subtle but powerful. It robs us of joy. It makes us numb to beauty. It makes us fear change because we've become so familiar with discomfort that we'd rather sit in our suffering than risk the uncertainty of healing. And so, we keep carrying the pain and calling it life, not because we want to, but because somewhere deep down, we've forgotten what it feels like to live without it. Whether we realize it or not, we are all carrying invisible weight. Emotional baggage, the remnants of old heartbreaks, missed opportunities, betrayals, failures, and words spoken to us in anger that we never forgot. It's not just a poetic metaphor, it's a psychological reality. Every wound we've never processed, every emotion we've suppressed, becomes stored in the body, in the mind, and in our behavioral patterns. Most people are walking through life with a mental backpack full of bricks. Every "I'm not good enough" moment tossed in, every mistake we can't forgive ourselves for added to the pile, every fear, every loss, every childhood wound that was never acknowledged, it all stays with us. And because we can't see it in the mirror, we often underestimate how much it's affecting us. This baggage doesn't just weigh down our hearts. It affects the way we think, speak, act, and connect with others. We might flinch emotionally when someone tries to get too close. We might sabotage good opportunities because a past failure taught us not to trust success. We might overreact to small setbacks because they awaken the echo of something much deeper, something unresolved. And we normalize this. We say things like, "That's just who I am," or "Life is hard," never realizing that the hardness isn't always life itself. It's the unhealed pain we've been dragging behind us for years. The worst part, we often grow so used to the weight that we forget what it feels like to live without it. We adapt, we become experts at functioning through our pain, smiling through depression, working through burnout, loving through fear, but functioning is not thriving, and carrying emotional baggage is not the same as being emotionally resilient. Resilience is when you've faced your pain, processed it, and grown stronger from it, not when you've simply learned to ignore it. The more we carry, the less space we have for the present moment. And this baggage doesn't just stay in the past, it leaks into our relationships, our decisions, our dreams. It shapes how we see the world and how we see ourselves. Until one day, we can't tell whether we're living out of free will or reacting from old wounds. And yet, because we've grown accustomed to carrying it, we forget to ask the most important question: do I really have to keep holding this? There's a quiet epidemic in the world today, one that doesn't make headlines or draw attention on social media. It's the normalization of suffering. Day after day, people endure emotional, mental, and even physical pain without ever questioning it. Not because they're incapable of healing, but because they've accepted suffering as a standard part of life. They've been conditioned to believe that pain is simply part of being human, and that enduring it without complaint is somehow noble, mature, or even necessary. From childhood, we receive subtle messages that encourage this mindset. Don't cry, life isn't fair, toughen up. These phrases don't build resilience, they suppress vulnerability. And over time, they create a distorted version of adulthood where suffering becomes the background music of life, playing on repeat until we can't even hear it anymore. We stop noticing the discomfort. We stop questioning the struggle. We stop asking, is this how it's supposed to be? This normalization affects every aspect of our lives. People stay in toxic relationships because they believe every relationship is hard. They tolerate emotionally draining work environments because they've been told work isn't supposed to be fun. They live in a state of anxiety, loneliness, or quiet despair and justify it by saying, "That's just life." But is it? There's a dangerous comfort in normalized suffering. It makes us feel like we're not alone. If everyone else is hurting too, then maybe we're okay. Maybe we're strong. But this comparison doesn't lead to growth. It leads to collective stagnation. It fosters a society where burnout is applauded, emotional suppression is admired, and asking for help is seen as weakness. What's worse is that this mindset is self-reinforcing. When we accept suffering as normal, we stop seeking healing. We stop exploring healthier alternatives. We stop dreaming of a better life. Instead, we build routines around our pain, creating a life that is not built on passion or purpose, but on coping mechanisms and emotional survival. And while it may feel like resilience on the surface, underneath lies a deep exhaustion, a soul silently crying for permission to let go, to rest, to breathe, to feel joy again without guilt. We were never meant to live this way. The human spirit is capable of incredible joy, creativity, and connection. But when suffering becomes the norm, we trade all of that for endurance. We learn to carry the weight, but we forget we have the power to set it down. Every person walking this earth will experience pain. It is one of the universal threads that connects all human beings. Pain is part of life. It comes with loss, change, disappointment, betrayal, failure, and even growth. We feel pain when someone we love walks away, When we fail at something we gave our heart to, when the world doesn't match our expectations, pain, in many ways, is the price of caring. It proves that we are alive, that we are engaged, that we are connected. But suffering is a different matter altogether. Suffering begins where pain is not acknowledged, processed, or released. It's the lingering echo of pain that wasn't fully felt, or that we tried to suppress, bury, or deny. While pain may come and go like a wave, suffering is the storm we create when we resist that wave, or when we hold onto it long after it has passed. There is a saying, pain is what the world does to you. Suffering is what you do to yourself. And while that might sound harsh, it carries a powerful truth. The suffering we experience often comes from the stories we attach to our pain, stories of blame, guilt, shame, or fear. Instead of letting the wound heal, we keep scratching at it with our thoughts, with our memories, with our self-talk. For example, heartbreak is pain, but telling yourself, I'll never be loved again, or I wasn't good enough, that is suffering. Losing a job is pain, but spiraling into thoughts like, I'm a failure, or nothing ever works out for me, that's suffering. The event might last a moment, a day, or a season, but the story we build around it can last a lifetime unless we interrupt it. Suffering is maintained by resistance. When we refuse to accept what is, we feed our suffering. When we try to control the uncontrollable, we fuel it. When we constantly replay the past or anxiously predict the future, we reinforce it. In contrast, when we accept pain as a teacher, when we sit with it, learn from it, and allow it to move through us, it transforms, it becomes wisdom. The power lies in this distinction. We may not have control over the pain life brings us, but we absolutely have a say in how we respond to it. We can choose to be victims of our pain, or we can choose to be students of it. One path leads to more suffering, the other leads to growth, clarity, and freedom. Recognizing that suffering is a choice is not about blaming ourselves. It's about empowering ourselves. It means understanding that while pain knocks on every door, we don't have to invite it in to stay forever. We don't have to make a home for it in our hearts. One of the most subtle yet profound forms of self-limitation occurs when we begin to confuse our pain with our identity. When something painful happens, especially something repeated or traumatic, it doesn't just hurt us in the moment. If left unhealed, it starts to embed itself into how we see ourselves. Over time, we don't just say, I was hurt. We start saying, I am broken. And with that shift, we begin to wear our pain like a name tag. It begins early. A child who is constantly criticized might grow up believing they are inadequate. A teenager who is abandoned or betrayed might start seeing themselves as unlovable. An adult who experiences repeated failures may come to believe they are destined to fail. These wounds become self-concepts, and because the mind is always trying to make sense of experience, we start to organize our entire lives around these identities, often without realizing it. Pain, in this way, becomes a lens. We begin to look at the world through it. Relationships are filtered through fear of abandonment. Goals are filtered through fear of inadequacy. Opportunities are viewed through the assumption that we don't deserve them. Even joy becomes suspicious because deep down we believe pain is our default and anything else is temporary or unreal. We start saying things like, I always attract the wrong people. I can't trust anyone. Good things never happen to me. These aren't observations. They are declarations of identity formed in pain, and the danger here is that the more we repeat them, the more they solidify into belief systems. What began as an experience becomes a label. What should have been a chapter becomes the whole story. And here's where it gets even more complicated. Once we identify with our pain, we often resist healing, because healing then feels like losing a part of ourselves. Who would I be if I wasn't the one who was hurt? Who am I without the struggle? What do I have to say or share if I'm not constantly overcoming something? This identity attachment can lead to self-sabotage. We reject love because we don't feel worthy. We turn down opportunities because they don't match our internal narrative. We push people away because closeness threatens the walls we've built around our wounds. The familiar pain, as miserable as it may be, feels safer than the unknown freedom we're afraid to claim. And society doesn't help. In many circles, people bond through shared suffering. Pain becomes a badge of honor. Trauma becomes personality, and healing can even feel like betrayal, like you're leaving behind a version of yourself or a community that only knew you through your wounds. But the truth is, you are not your pain, you are not your trauma, you are not what happened to you. You are the awareness behind it, the strength that endured it, the soul that still longs for more. For so many people, life feels like a series of consequences from their past, mistakes that haunt them, failures that shape them, and memories that dictate how far they believe they can go. It's as if a single event or a series of painful moments permanently carved their destiny in stone. They begin to believe that their future is merely an extension of what's already happened. But this belief is not just limiting, it's a distortion of truth. The past may inform you, but it does not define you. It is a part of your story, not the conclusion of it. Yet it's common for people to look at themselves through the rearview mirror, judging who they are today by who they were back then. And this perspective becomes a trap. It keeps them repeating cycles, stuck in old roles, reliving the same emotions, and replaying the same outcomes. Why? Because when you believe your past defines you, you unconsciously live in a way that reinforces that narrative. You reject growth opportunities because that's not me. You avoid taking risks because I've failed before. You hesitate to trust because I've been hurt before. And in doing so, you become imprisoned by moments that are no longer real, moments that only continue to exist because you carry them forward. What's even more painful is when the labels given to us by others in the past become the definitions we place on ourselves. Maybe someone told you that you were lazy or difficult or not smart enough or not beautiful enough. Maybe they told you you'd never make it, and maybe, just maybe, you believed them. And now, years later, even though you've grown, changed, and endured, you still wear those old labels like second skin. But here's a deeper truth. The past is a memory, not a life sentence. Who you were 5 years ago, 5 months ago, even 5 minutes ago, is not who you have to be right now. Human beings are not static. We are constantly evolving, learning, shedding, rebuilding, and the most powerful moment in any person's life is the one where they finally realize, I can start again. Every scar has a story, yes, but it can also be a symbol of survival, of resilience, of transformation. The same pain that once broke you can become the foundation that builds you. But for that to happen, you must release the belief that your past defines your worth, your identity, or your potential. You are not your worst moment. You are not your darkest day. You are not your mistakes. You are the author of your story, and the pen is still in your hand. One of the greatest myths we quietly absorb is the belief that some wounds are simply too deep to heal, that certain traumas are too old, certain scars too ingrained, and certain emotions too embedded to ever be released. This mindset keeps millions trapped in silent despair, convinced that healing is for other people, not for them. But this belief is false. Healing is not only possible, it is natural. It is part of our design as human beings. Look at the body. When we cut ourselves, our skin begins to repair without us even asking it to. The body doesn't question whether we deserve to heal, it just gets to work. In the same way, our minds and hearts are built with that same regenerative capacity. But unlike the body, the heart often waits for our permission, and too often we don't give it. Why? Because we fear healing, we resist it. We think healing means forgetting, or we think that if we truly heal, it somehow invalidates the pain we went through. That moving forward dishonors the suffering we endured, but healing is not forgetting. It's remembering without being controlled. It's being able to look back without crumbling. It's transforming your pain into wisdom, not erasing the memory. And healing isn't linear. It's not a straight line. Some days you'll feel like you've made progress. Other days you'll feel like you're back where you started. That's not failure. That's the nature of deep emotional healing. It comes in waves. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's loud. Sometimes it feels like nothing's happening until one day you react differently. You choose peace over rage, compassion over self, hate, stillness over chaos. That's when you know the healing is real. Another misconception is that healing requires the perfect conditions: a retreat, a therapist, a clean break from your current environment. And while those can help, healing ultimately begins in the moment you decide that you are worthy of wholeness. It starts when you get tired of carrying the pain, when you stop romanticizing suffering, when you begin to prioritize peace over being right, over being bitter, over being a victim. It also means doing the work. Healing is not passive. It demands courage to face things you've buried, to feel things you've numbed, and to forgive things you've held on to for years. It requires you to sit with discomfort, not run from it. To unlearn the narratives that have kept you small, to be radically honest with yourself. Not cruel, but honest. You don't need to become someone else to heal. You only need to return to who you were before the world taught you to hide. Beneath the layers of hurt, defense, and fear, there is still a part of you untouched by pain. That part has been waiting, not for perfection, not for a miracle, but for your permission to begin again. There's a profound difference between being alive and truly living. Between simply existing, going through the motions, fulfilling responsibilities, ticking boxes, and living a life that is rich, present, purposeful, and aligned with who you really are. The unfortunate truth is that many people, perhaps even the majority, are stuck in survival mode. They wake up, go to work, take care of obligations, interact out of routine, but their hearts aren't in it. Their souls are quiet. Their dreams are buried. Their joy is dimmed. Survival mode is necessary sometimes. During trauma, during hardship, when life shakes you to your core, survival mode helps you get through. It's a mechanism built to protect, but what's meant to be temporary often becomes permanent when the pain isn't processed. You stay in defense, you stay alert, you stay closed, and before long that becomes your normal. You're not living, you're enduring, and here's the cost of that. You lose your aliveness. You lose connection to your inner voice. You become a version of yourself who is just making it through, day by day, not questioning if there's more. The tragedy is not that people suffer because suffering is part of life. The real tragedy is that so many stop reaching for anything beyond suffering. They stop dreaming, they stop creating, they stop risking love, risking failure, risking beauty. They tell themselves, this is just life now. But it isn't. It's survival. It's stagnation dressed up as maturity. Choosing to live, truly live requires courage. It means stepping outside the comfort zone of familiarity. It means being willing to feel again, to hope again, to try again. It means confronting the walls you've built and asking yourself whether they're protecting you or imprisoning you. It means understanding that life is not just about avoiding pain, but about seeking depth, seeking meaning, seeking truth. Living means being fully present. It means laughing deeply, crying fully, speaking honestly, and connecting without fear. It means not just watching the days go by, but engaging with them, listening to your inner calling even when it whispers, following curiosity, saying yes to what lights you up, saying no to what drains you, choosing purpose over programming. It also means rewriting the definition of success. True living is not always loud. It's not always about chasing more. Sometimes, living fully means slowing down, listening, walking away from chaos, returning to simplicity, reclaiming your peace, your time, your attention, and investing it in what truly matters to you, not what the world expects of you. You can survive and feel nothing. But to live, to truly live, that means feeling everything and trusting that you are strong enough to hold it all. So I'll leave you with this. You are not here just to survive. You are not here to carry pain like a badge of honor and call it life. You are here to live fully, to rise from your story, not be buried by it. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are the author of what comes next. And if this message spoke to something deep inside of you, if it reminded you of who you really are, or gave you just a little more strength to begin again, then don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, subscribe, not just to support this channel, but to support yourself on this journey of healing, growth, and truth. Hit that subscribe button now, and let's keep walking this path together toward awareness, toward peace, toward the life you were always meant to live. Turn on notifications so you never miss a message that your heart might need. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing life. Until next time, stay awake, stay strong, and never forget, you were born to live, not just to carry pain.